we've got real holes in this country, and you have an administration right now that's focused on just all the wrong things. And, my father wants to go fix that hole. Forget about the other thing. Let's fix the fundamental problems of this country. Let's make this country safe. Let's clean up the cities. Let's stop the crime. Let's stop the nonsense. Let's stop the shooting. Let's stop having our kids poisoned in this nation. Let's make things affordable again. Let's stop the wars. We've spent $200 billion in Ukraine. You know what that kind of money could have done in Milwaukee?
A lot.
A lot. You know what that could have done to public schools? You know what that could have done to infrastructure? You know what that could have done to, extra policing and crime fighting? And it's maddening. We're sending all our money. By the way, this is your money. Just understand that you're paying for it. Every one of you has written thousands and thousands of dollars to fight wars where it's just, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have been killed, people that look identical to one another, people that that share a common language, and it's insane. And then look at the Middle East. My father got out of all the wars. My father's the first president in the history of the nation that never started a war. And yet, look at the Middle East right now. It's an absolute hornet's nest. And despite that, they've gone after him, and they've ruthlessly attacked him, and they've prosecuted him, and it's just felony after felony, and weaponized district attorney and AG. As a son, I've been watching it and saying, for a guy that's done what he's done for this country, it really is just a crazy system that wants to fight back. Believe me, in this country, they want wars.
And Eric, I want to piggyback off of that. Sorry to interrupt you, but just saying this as a son. Not only this is your dad that 5 days ago there was an assassination attempt, but there's been a complete shift in the campaign. How has your dad been different since what happened 5 days ago in Pennsylvania?
Listen, I think it puts it all in perspective, right? I've dealt with the political games for the last 8 years. And I'm not an overly political guy. I'm a guy who loves my father, and I would stand on that stage with him until the end of time. But, I could do away with politics if you told me right now, right? It's just, but I think when you see a bullet whiz by somebody's ear and take off, a portion of their ear and realize that,
not just somebody, but your father.
No, of course. And you're watching this on live. Guys, we almost had a former president and very likely future president assassinated on live TV. Do you know what that would have done for this country? You know what that would have made our country look like? We would look like a banana republic. This can't happen in the United States of America. It's not just it can't happen to a former commander-in-chief. It can't happen in our cities either. We need to stop the nonsense, and we need to stop it, right this second. But does that form some level of humility, humbleness, perspective on life, perspective on what's important or not? I damn sure think it does, right? We all know people who have gotten in near-death accidents, whether it's a car accident or whatever it may be, fire in a house where they barely escaped, and those things change people. And I think having part of your ear blown off, had my father not turned his head at that exact moment, it would have been game over. And, I'm not an overly mushy person, but, there was a hand on his shoulder. Believe me, there was a hand on his shoulder because, the odds of him being here. And remember, the shot was taken 130 yards. This is not a far shot.
Right.
This is not a far shot. That's a shot. That's like a, 4-inch putt, and, he shouldn't be here right now. And, there's no question that somebody was watching down over him and, protecting him.
Well, we are glad that you're here. We don't, as Americans, we don't want any government official, former president, potential future president assassinated. So again, we want to thank you, Eric, for being here. We are joined live by Eric Trump, son of former President Donald Trump. Now, Eric, I have to ask you this, because the reality is that a number of American black voters have been very public about supporting your father during this presidential election. A number of black voters are converting to black conservatism. Yeah. And so why do you think that is? Why do you think former President Donald Trump is appealing to black voters more than any other Republican presidential candidate in the history of our country?
Yeah, I could go on for about an hour and a half. But, let me start with this.
We got 9 hours, Eric. So
I'll take all 9 hours to allow me to, guys. First of all, I think they see my father as a fighter, and I think the community, generally speaking, I think a lot of communities, want the person who will actually fight for this nation. They love America. They love red, white, and blue, and they saw a fighter 4 years ago. They might not have known exactly who he was, but they saw somebody who was out there cheerleading for the United States of America every single day. And right now, guys, we don't have a fighter, and we certainly don't have a cheerleader for this nation. We are cheerleading on nothing. We are winning on no fronts. We don't have a fighter in the Oval Office. The exact opposite. You have a guy who can barely get up a flight of stairs. He can't get through a sentence. And God bless. I'll probably be there at one point. We'll all be there at one point, right? But this guy's not doing the job for America, and we are slipping. Then you look at the crimes in the inner cities, and it is horrible. I mean, I built an unbelievable building in Chicago, and you watch the degradation of that city, one of the greatest cities anywhere on earth, and a city I absolutely adore. And you see the degradation where every single week a mom is watching that same thing that I watched with my 2 kids on TV the other day. The only difference is their son or daughter or father did not make it because that bullet struck home and they died. Right? There is too much of that. Our cities have turned to hell. Bail reform has been a disaster. There's not a single person in this country that believes that bail reform actually worked at this point, because you have bad guys who are being let out and they go commit new crimes, and cities have just become, and also you have so many people who want greater policing, right? I mean, just to keep the toughest neighborhoods safe. And then, you've had the war on police and the war on defund, and it's tough, guys, and there's a whole host of magnitudes, but our cities have just become dangerous. And I think those communities want those streets cleaned up, and they want those streets cleaned up now. And those communities deserve those streets to be cleaned up. Let me be very clear on that. And then you look at these false indictments, right? And my father's mugshot, and clearly, there's not a person in this country that doesn't think that he's been targeted in some way, shape, or form. Most people think he's been targeted in a real way. And I've been there. I've been in that courthouse. And I think so many people in these communities have also said, hey, listen, I've seen these games. I've seen prosecutors do this to me. I've seen prosecutors do this to my friends. I've seen friends thrown in jail for nothing for long periods of time. The keys were thrown away. They were thrown in jail, and they didn't have a chance in the world of beating that system. They had no chance. Their youth was taken from them. Their lives were taken from them. Yeah, maybe they screwed up. Maybe they made a little mistake. But they were effectively thrown in the garbage. And do you know what? I've seen this game before. I've seen it in our communities, and they're doing it to this guy right now. And when I saw that mugshot on the T-shirt, and I can't tell you how many guys have said this to me, when I saw that mugshot on the T-shirt, I was all in, because he became one of us. And listen, guys, I think of magnitude. And then let's just look at jobs. Let's look at illegal immigration. I mean, how many illegal immigrants have come into this country who have taken jobs that other people wanted? How many immigrants have come into this country that are now getting public housing, when you have lists in some communities that are miles long of people who have waited years to get public housing? Isn't it amazing that illegal immigrants are coming across the southern border and they're being put in the best hotels in New York City on taxpayer dollars, right? I mean, we're paying for it, but yet they haven't spent a dime. They haven't spent a dime on public housing in this country in years and years and years, yet they'll spend billions of dollars, effectively housing people in the finest hotels who just broke the law by coming across the border legally, and we don't know who those people are. And people are getting infuriated. And then last but not least, you're seeing the drug epidemic, right? I mean, this is single-handedly the most important thing to me. I literally said to my wife, Laura, the other day, should we keep Narcan in our cars? Because kids are picking up dollar bills in a playground. Kids are touching a water fountain, and they are literally ODing on a poison being sent over from China. And that is disproportionately affecting the cities. And no one's doing a damn thing about it. And it's tragic. And my father wants to stop the madness.
We're being joined live here on Truth Be Told with DT&Telly with Eric Trump, the son of former President Donald Trump. And tonight, another history-making moment. Your father will accept the nomination for an unprecedented 3rd time. And when you look at the momentum, it seems like the Republicans have been able to garner this week. I've been joking all week long. I said, if this is a game, the Republicans are on a 20-0 run right now. And how do you all attribute this momentum? How did this momentum come, and how do you sustain this momentum to November?
Yeah, listen, the pendulum has shifted in a big way, and I think people are getting it. The debate was a big part of it, right? I think people realized that a lot of the media was very, very Biden focused. He could do no wrong, and everybody suspected what we all know. And then obviously he came out that night, and it was probably the worst debate performance in the history of this country. And I think that propelled a lot of the momentum, which is we've been lied to. We've been spoon-fed a message. You don't have independent, you guys are, right? But You don't have, among the mainstream media, you don't have independent journalism anymore. People aren't calling balls and shots. The same message you hear in L.A. is the one that you're hearing in Mississippi, which is the same as you're hearing in Atlanta. It's the same scripts, it's the same this, right? There's no independent thought. And people were being spoon-fed, and I think people got fed up, and I think the media lost a lot of credibility after that debate, right? They could no longer kind of carry this guy's water for him. And so you had that. You clearly had this assassination attempt. People are pissed off. They see how my father's been attacked. But again, you see the hole in the roof of this country. We're focused on whether or not a 6'5" man my size should swim in women's sports. All right, that might be a political issue, all right? But if there's 1,000 political issues, that's 999 in terms of importance. Stop the fentanyl, stop the illegal immigration, take care of our cities, make our cities safe, make our country strong, get out of war, stop spending billions of dollars overseas, right? Let's start with the important issues, and let's stop screwing around with the issues that don't matter, that not a single person listening to us right now cares about, as they can't afford groceries, as they can't afford the rent, as they're about to get evicted from their apartments, as they can't take that trip to Disney World that they've always dreamed about with their children. Stop screwing around with the stuff that doesn't matter. And I think people are really at a point in their lives where they're fed up, and I think that's why, to your point, I think that's why the pendulum has shifted to the extent that it has.
Yeah.
So, Eric, speaking of which, tonight, big night, day 4 of the Republican National Convention. Former President Donald Trump, your father, is going to speak to this country as he accepts the nomination as the GOP presidential candidate. Now, this is the truth, Eric. So I got to ask you this question.
Tell me. I want this.
Can you give us a preview of what former President Donald Trump is going to say to the American viewers, the voters that are going to be tuned in all over the world, by the way, but also in particular the American voters that are going to look at this as maybe I'm here and I need to hear from former President Donald Trump to get here. What is going to be the message tonight?
Well, it's going to be inspirational. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be America first. And I think that's a message that you're going to clearly take out of the speech, right? For some reason, this globalist agenda has kind of infiltrated America. My father wants to be the quarterback. He wants to be the coach that has a winning quarterback, that has a winning team, that wins on every single issue for this country. And for some reason, I'm not sure why in modern day America that offends certain people. He wants to have the best education. He wants to have the best economy. He wants to have the best military. He wants to have the safest streets. He wants to have, the lowest inflation, the lowest gas prices. Go down the litany. He wants America to be number one at everything we do, and he wants to go broadcast that to the world. He wants to broadcast the strength of America to be the world. So, you're going to hear a very, America first policy. You're going to hear a very America first speech. We can be the best. We've always been the best. We put that man on the moon. We've done things. We've conquered problems that no other society in the world could even dream of. Societies that 99% of the countries around the world still couldn't, and we might have done these 50, 60, 70 years ago. We're so far ahead, and we have to stay far ahead because China's coming after us. So many countries are coming after them. The Middle East is certainly coming after us in terms of, they all want that number one spot, and we better stay in the lead. And I have the honor of speaking right before him, and I'm a proud son. I'm telling you guys, I'm not one of these politicos. You can probably see that in my eyes. The man is incredible. He's been the greatest father in the world to me. I could not have imagined having a better father. He's a wonderful person. He's the one guy that does not need to do this. He could sit his ass at Mar-a-Lago and have the greatest life, eat cheeseburgers, go play golf, screw off all day. And you know what he does? He goes out there and he gets indicted and he gets prosecuted, and they try and take down his company, and they try and bankrupt him, and they put his mugshot on every billboard and they try and kill him last week, and he keeps on going. And what does he do? He stands up. He has blood running down the side of his face. He puts his fist in the air and he says, "Fight, fight, fight." And we better get a guy like that. We better get a person like that back in the White House. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country left, because the current incompetence and just the policies are destroying our nation. They're destroying this country.
Eric, you said that, again, you're going to speak tonight. Your brother last night, how did you think your brother did?
He did great, but I'll be better.
Okay. See, that's coming from a person that has siblings, so there's always a competition.
By the way,
and you talked about not being a politician, but being on this this stage tonight, are there still nerves? Are there still things that like it takes getting used to? Because you're only going to have everybody in the world watching tonight, by the way.
Great motivational speaking, Telly. That's the way to get you pumped up.
It's only like 50 or 60 million people. Don't worry about it.
No worries.
In the world, 8 billion.
Yeah.
Guys, it's a true honor, right? I mean, you're speaking to everybody in the world, but I don't care. Honestly, I don't care about them. I care about the people in this country. I do. I'm going to speak to pretty much every citizen in this nation tonight, and I'm going to talk about a man that I freaking adore, a man that I love. Yeah, does he come across as tough and brash? 100%, right? But the guy's got a heart of gold. Like, I mean, my 2 kids run up to him. My little daughter Carolina runs up to him, jumps in his lap, and he's just ear to ear beaming, right? And it might not even be the image that he wants people to see, right? I mean, he's a fighter, and look at Tyson, right? Tyson was the best of all time. You just you couldn't take the fighter out of but honestly, maybe having a big bullet graze your ear, maybe again the humbleness that comes with that, maybe that does soften somebody up a little bit. But I'm not even sure if I want that. Like, this country, I have a grandmother who's the most incredible person, nicest person you've ever met in your entire life, but she'd be the worst president in the entire world. Like, you don't necessarily want that for president. You need somebody that's going to fight.
Absolutely.
President Xi over in China, believe me, he's a fighter. He's an animal. He has one goal, and that's world domination, and that's what we're up against. We need a fighter in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's exactly who Donald Trump is, and he loves this nation. He doesn't need to be doing this, and as a son, I'm incredibly proud of him.
Well, I've got to ask you just one more question. Now, this is about you, Eric.
Please.
You've been in Milwaukee for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Wisconsin or Milwaukee dish that you've consumed since you've been here?
Guys, I've been consuming literally Celsius and Celsius and more Celsius. I've been running through these stadiums.
Are you a Celsius drinker?
No, honestly, not before this week. Not really, but I haven't had a decent freaking meal in 5 days.
Oh, we got to work on that.
I just want to sit down with a burger and a huge thing of fries and what other fattening things I guess.
I'm going to tell you, replace the fries with Wisconsin cheese curds.
There you go.
You got to have some cheese curds while you are in the state of Wisconsin.
Hey guys, I've spent a lot of time here. I spent a lot of time in this state, and I mean, first of all, I love them. The food here is awesome.
We're gonna get you some soul food, Eric. We're gonna find a good soul food vendor.
I'm in.
Are you we're gonna get you some yams, all that good stuff. We're gonna get some soul food for you.
Yams.
We got plenty of great black-owned restaurants here. This is Eric Trump joining Truth Be Told Live. Eric, we thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule.
It's a great honor, and sorry for my little switch around from yesterday. I apologize.
No worries.
It's okay. I bought a dress just for you, Eric, yesterday. I did.
Oh, I want to see that dress. I'll be back on. All right.
Okay.
Deal.
All right. Deal.
Will you let me know?
I will.
All right.
Thank
you,
is.
guys.
All right. Eric Trump, son of former President Donald Trump, who will be introducing his father as he accepts the GOP nomination here in Milwaukee during the 2024 Republican National Convention. Up next, we're going to go straight to Sherwin Hughes, who is on deck ready to give you more knowledge and expertise regarding the Republican National Convention. Again, Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This is, as you know, the best morning show on planet Earth. And as Steve Gaddafi said, the best show on planet Universe. We're not even doing planets. So thank y'all again so much. We're going to wrap up and get ready for tonight as we watch former President Donald Trump accept the nomination as the presidential candidate for the Republican Party. Thanks again. We will hear and see y'all tomorrow. Make it a great day. We love you. Tell somebody you love them. And keep tuned in to 9 more hours of live consecutive Black Talk Radio. We'll be back.
Out.
Truth Nation, our Beyond the Mic Happy Hour Mixer series has been a hit this summer. I want you to join me and my Truth teammates for our next installment of Beyond the Mic, Friday, July 26th, from 5 until 7 p.m. at the Mo Bay Cafe, located at 1022 South 1st Street in Milwaukee. There will be delicious cocktails, great conversation, Chula Vista